I'm willing to bet you've never used this Pokemon. In fact, at least 99% of you haven't. It has one of the lowest usage rates in competitive Pokemon at just 0.1%. It's practically extinct in tournaments, but today we're bringing it back. This is Hisuian Zoroark. With paper-thin defenses and an ability that's more of a gimmick than a serious boost, it's no surprise that you haven't used it. One of the only streamed matches I could find of this Pokemon being used this generation was at the Baltimore Regional by Tyler Rutledge, and he could only make day 2 with it. I'll be showing 3 online matches to see if this Pokemon is a valuable addition to a team or just an illusion. So getting into game 1 here, we're playing against someone who probably isn't a very big competitive battler. They're playing with kind of a mishmash of surprise traded Pokemon as well as Pokemon that maybe they trained up or also surprise traded for. But it'll still give you an idea of how this Zoroark build works. So they lead with Banette and Porygon. Banette goes ahead and takes some damage from the Rocky Helmet, and the Snarl from Zoroark does a lot of damage into the Banette. I'm not sure if this is an EV trained Banette or if this person's just using whatever they had, but it does hit the Throat Spray, so now we're +1 next turn. They Ice Beam into me thinking that this is a Rillaboom and not a Zoroark, so that breaks the illusion. We're already where we need to be. We're +1. Banette gets taken out there by Incineroar, and they are really in a bad position here. I don't know what Banette usually does. Something tells me that they didn't anticipate it going down that fast. They switch out into Urshifu. I go ahead and Terra my Zoroark into normal. So the build that I'm using is Throat Spray with Terra normal, and then Snarl and Hyper Voice as the 2 main moves. Terraing into normal for that extra power on Hyper Voice. You'll see it kind of does a disgusting amount of damage here. And the Urshifu just gets blown apart by it. I didn't expect that. I thought maybe I'd get 50 to 75, but it just gets one shot. Foul play from that Porygon with the unfortunate website name does take out Zoroark. The damage that it was able to do before they found out or, targeted it enough to take it out is just, it's going to take this match away for us. This Will-O-Wisp was meant to hit that Urshifu, but unfortunately ends up going into the Porygon, which just barely doesn't do enough damage to take it out. It kind of sucks. It's going to go back and forth between the burn and the leftovers, just moving it back and forth. Really a net 0, and the attack drop from the burn's not going to matter. They go out into this Greninja, again with a website that you shouldn't go to. I don't know if they just scam people or if it's just like overpriced Gen Mons. Just don't go to that or the other one. But they tear it into Poison type here. Not really sure what the strategy is on the Greninja. They go for Water Shuriken into the Incineroar, and it does way less than I was expecting. We'll take it. Urshifu goes for close combat into it and takes it down into the orange. The defense drop, really not my worry at this point. I'm just kind of blowing through their team. The Hyper Beam maybe mattered with the defense drop, who knows? A calculator knows, but Urshifu goes down, and I'm not worried. Parting Shot goes into that Greninja since I just don't know what it's going to do. And I'll make the switch out into Rillaboom here to set up the very time-consuming but useful grassy terrain. I'll be speeding up some of the heals later since they need to speed it up in the game. They can't just apply all of them at the same time, especially with the burn constantly bringing it back down. Anyways, I've got 2 fake out users fresh to the field. I think you know where this is going, and it's going to a double fake out turn. Unfortunately, the Rillaboom misses onto the Greninja, so I doubled into it with the Incineroar. The Hyper Beam recharge for the Porygon means that it's basically useless, so a net 0 turn here. I'll speed up the heals again there, and I go for Grassy Glide just to finish off the most time-consuming Porygon to ever hit the field. And their Greninja also is not going to fare very well this turn, as it goes for Ice Beam. This Rillaboom, or I guess any Rillaboom, really tanky against stuff like Ice Beam. It kind of shocked me there. I'm still a little bit newer to this meta. I haven't played competitive since probably Gen 6, so I'm just now getting into it, but that's how match 1 finishes up. Going to match 2, and they're again using a Porygon 2. A little weird. I guess there was that one shiny event. They don't have any restricteds on their team, so I left the 2 restricteds that I have on this team behind just to make it a little bit more fun and a little more even. I immediately Terra the Zoroark into normal since I'm not going to be snarling into this. I'm just going to go straight into Hyper Voice to get that +1. And their team really has nothing I'm worried about. It's really just kind of another kitchen sink looking team like the last one was. Hyper Voice without the +1 almost takes out the Rillaboom. This Zoroark, if you can get them to not want to attack it turn 1, it's pretty disgusting what it's able to do. Ice Beam, as we said at the end of the last match, just gets eaten by this Rillaboom. Grassy Terrain, sped it up there for ya. Hyper Voice with the +1 is going to almost take out the Porygon. It will take out the Rillaboom. And they're still just not targeting the Zoroark. That was the biggest thing that I noticed going through this experiment with Zoroark, is that no one likes to target an Urshifu, especially a Terra Normal Urshifu. I'm sure there's probably a reason for that, or maybe there's not a reason. I couldn't think of one. They take out the Espeon here. This Espeon is just going to get absolutely freight trained by my Zoroark. It gets taken down into about 20% health. Porygon gets taken out. Having the spread move Hyper Voice on this Zoroark in specifically VGC without having a Wide Guarder on the other team, it feels like you just steamroll until they decide to launch like anything into Zoroark, since, as mentioned before, its defenses are basically 0. The U-turn from Rillaboom takes out the Espeon, and here I went for something that at least made me laugh, which was sending out the actual Urshifu next to the illusioned Urshifu. I would like to believe that I'll do this against someone one day and they'll just have no clue what's happening and think that I somehow took 2. Is Zoroark something that people nowadays know about? Like, people who haven't been in Pokemon since Gen 5 but maybe are just getting back into it, or, you know, younger people. Do they know about Illusion, or is this something that I'm actually catching people with? Game 3 here is a bit different of a team. I actually really like having Mimikyu on the team. Not for me, but for them. So I lead with Zoroark disguised as Urshifu, and then Zamazenta as well. They take the Mimikyu out, which I was very thankful for since it was going to eat the Hyper Voice. But they go out into Suicune. I went for Snarl here, very convenient to get the special attack drop onto Suicune. The Uxie here is just a setup for setting up both types of walls and probably something else. We get the Throat Spray boost. I go for Heavy Slam, which I thought was going to do well because for some reason I had this memory that Suicune was an Ice type. It's definitely not an Ice type. They set up Reflect, which not a problem for Zoroark, but I think we know where this is going next turn. So I get the Terra Normal. I'm just hoping to get a Hyper Voice out before they're able to get the Light Screen set up, since that's going to be pretty tough to hit through. And I do get it off, I do outspeed, but it does less damage than I would want here. It kind of did like 20 to 35% to both of them, and Heavy Slam isn't able to finish off Uxie, so it does get the Light Screen out, which really, really sucks. I'm thinking maybe when faced with screen setups like that, when using something like Hyper Voice Zoroark, it might be better to just switch that turn 1, get something out there that's going to be able to hit the Uxie before it can set up Light Screen, and I guess just roll the dice and hope that it's not going to use Light Screen before Reflect. So I bring Calyrex out, which ends up being a very, very happy accident. Unnerve, usually it never comes up, right? Usually no one cares about Unnerve. But this is a Rest Suicune, which I vaguely remember being a thing. Well, Snarl takes out Uxie there after the damage has already been done. But this is a Rest Suicune that, I forget the berry offhand, but usually has a berry to wake itself up. But Unnerve from Calyrex Shadow keeps it from being able to. I didn't predict that. Maybe if I had remembered that Suicunes usually have Rest, I would have done it on purpose. I could pretend for now that I did on purpose. I didn't. The Shadow Sneak almost takes out Calyrex here. This Calyrex is spec'd to be able to take those kind of hits. Unfortunately, I also really like Life Orb on it, so it's not going to be lasting here. I go for a bit of a cowardly Snarl there just because I don't know what Mimikyu does and I'm a little bit afraid of it hitting like a truck. Not really a problem. It gets ran through by that Astral Barrage. But the special attack drop on the Suicune is still nice to have. Grimnay going off before the Life Orb takes out Calyrex just feels like an insult. Overall, I think we're pretty ahead here. We have a +1 Zoroark that they still haven't touched for some reason. Their Suicune is stuck asleep. And it goes for Sleep Talk, which just repeatedly hits Rest. I think it hits Rest a couple of times in this match. Very, very convenient for me. It ends up having a move that I didn't know it had until it fails it later, but it would have been very, very bad. I kind of want to try out that Suicune build now that I think about it. You'll see the move I'm talking about a bit later here. They bring out Iron Moth and Terra it into grass. I don't know why it Terra's grass. Maybe if someone could let me know, that would be helpful, but I already know it's going for Fiery Dance into Zamazenta, so I use Protect, and lo and behold, nothing comes of it. Perfect. And I'm able to get my Zoroark to again use Hyper Voice, and not as much damage. Again, it's very situational when this thing can one-shot or, you know, two-shot, but when running into something like this where maybe there's a little bit more special defense or the light screen being set up, it really, really gets shut down. I'm not sure if Zoroark can learn Brick Break. Maybe that's something to look into, since walls really do shut it down very, very hard. But I just go for Snarl again, a bit more of a defensive play, just trying to make sure that nothing here is going to get one shot and I'm able to close this out from the lead. It goes Energy Ball into Zoroark. Surprise, yeah, it's not an Urshifu, it's a Zoroark. I would imagine that they already figured that out at this point. Body Press does not take out Suicune. I'm just hurting Zamazenta more than I'm hurting Suicune every time I attack it. It goes for Sheer Cold here, which is the move I was talking about. Sleep Talk Sheer Cold sounds hilarious to me when that hits. I really, really want to try that out. I go for Hyper Voice just to be able to take out the Suicune, get a little bit more damage onto the Iron Moth. This one is looking like it's going to wrap up. There's a few more things that happen here. The Energy Ball is going to take out Zoroark. I just want to throw something in here. I'm new to making VGC content and also VGC competitive in general. So if you have any ideas or anything you want to see, definitely leave a comment and let me know, and make sure to subscribe. And I'll be making as much of these as I can, as many weird strategies as you guys can give me or as I can come up with. So that wraps up match 3, and that's Hisuian Zoroark in 2025.